Good afternoon, everyone. Bon après-midi à tous. My name is Kim Wilson. I'm the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce for Greater Moncton. Welcome to Candidate Connect 2025. I would like to acknowledge that the event today is hosted in the traditional unceded homeland of the Maliseet people. This homeland and all of New Brunswick are covered by the treaties of peace and friendship which Maliseet, Mi'kmaq, and Passamaquoddy peoples first signed with the British Crown in 1725. Les traités ne portaient pas sur la cession des terres et des ressources, mais reconnaissaient en fait les titres des Maliseet, des Mi'kmaq et des Passamaquoddy et établissaient les règles de ce qui devrait être une relation continue entre les nations. I would really like to thank each of the 6 federal candidates that are here representing the ridings of Moncton-Dieppe, Beauséjour, and Fundy Royal for accepting our invitation to take part in today's event. A big round of applause. We originally had 7 confirmed. Unfortunately, our Liberal candidate from Beauséjour was unable to be with us today. Today's event, as I mentioned earlier, is being recorded by the fabulous Joelle from Rogers TV, and you will be famous on Monday starting at different times. We're going to post, I think Dominique's going to post the hours. We will be broadcasting this in Miramichi, St. John, and Moncton at various times beginning on Monday, April the 21st. So stay tuned. Please check the screen for availability of the times. So the format for today is as follows. Each candidate will be given 3 minutes for opening remarks. At the 3-minute mark, the mic will be turned off and we'll move to the next candidate. That's really only if, we're hoping you can. There's a big timer right up front, right? Okay. The order of the speakers has been chosen at random. It was an official audit by myself and 2 of the campaign managers from one of the teams, so thank you. It's very official. So we did draw the names for today's event. Following the introductory remarks of each of the 6 candidates, we'll move to a Q&A format with 3 questions. Since we have 3 candidates for the Conservative Party and 2 candidates from the Liberal Party, each candidate will be given one of the 3 questions, but the Liberal Party, 1 candidate will be given 2 of the questions. And Serge Landry, our candidate for the NDP for Moncton-Dieppe, will be the only candidate to answer all 3. So you can say whatever you'd like, Serge. There you go. Each member of the panel will have 3 minutes. So we're giving 3 minutes for opening remarks and 3 to answer the questions. Following the Q&A discussion, we have allocated 30 minutes for you, our members, because this is a member-only event today, to speak to the candidate or candidates of your choice. So this is your opportunity to ask any burning questions that you had. We had the media here at the first 30 minutes, and they were doing all the interviewing, but the last 30 minutes is reserved for you, our members. So start thinking of some of the questions that you may have for our candidates, and they'll be sticking around to interact with you. So now before we begin officially, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'd like to ask you all to take out your phones. And you're going to scan a QR code that you're going to see. So we've got a screen on either side. And this is our famous Show Up app. And the question today, so everybody get out their phone and scan the QR code. Jill Summers, yes, yes, thank you. Just show, Jill, thank you very much. What are your expectations for today's Candidate Connect? Quelles sont vos principales attentes en participation à Candidate Connect? So there's going to be a different selections there. And I just realized with my poor eyesight, Xavier, that I can't really read from this far away. So anybody else have this problem? That's a whole other topic we could debate on. So what the results are coming in, and I can see to learn more about the candidates and their platforms. Easy enough, right? So that's what people are here. They want to hear from you, the candidates. They want to learn more about what you're going to bring to the region if elected, and what are information about your platforms. So let's begin today's event. So first up to speak is Jocelyn Dionne, Conservative candidate for Moncton-Dieppe. A round of applause for Jocelyn Dionne.
All right, well, thank you very much, Kim. Chamber of Commerce, thank you very much. Merci beaucoup à l'équipe à Kim. Je m'appelle Jocelyn Dionne, je vais commencer en français. Je suis natif de Moncton, j'ai mon bac de l'Université de Moncton en administration des affaires. J'ai travaillé pour NBTEL, Bell Alliant pendant 14 ans, puis là j'ai ma propre compagnie avec ma femme Cynthia, puis on a 3 petits-enfants à la maison. Oh, I'll shift to English, okay? So, First off, elected officials, Rob, Ginette, thank you so much. I've gotten to see behind the scenes the last few years, and you guys work very hard. Thank you very much for your service. So I'll jump right in. There's three things, so I'm going to talk fast. You have to listen fast. Deal? Okay, so let's be clear here. The tariffs, we're in this situation because of the last 9 years and the Liberal policies. Members, those of you who were in a member in the past 30 days, there was an event in March, the Deloitte Speaker Series, and there was a clear message, and this is a nonpartisan clear message that our economy is very weak. Donald Savoie wrote an article in March, and it was pretty much the same thing. So it's clear that our economy is weak and vulnerable, and we're getting picked on by Mr. Trump down south. So we could be the richest country in the world. We have an abundance of natural resources. We have what the world wants. Okay, so the Conservatives will fix the economy by repealing C-69. The no pipeline law, okay, will create that national energy corridor from coast to coast. For tariffs, we have to fix that relationship with our number one trading partner, obviously, but it's also, there's an opportunity behind this problem. We have to find new international trading partners and obviously fix the interprovincial barriers that we face. So it's an eye-opener. So I'll go to number two, the housing crisis. The lack of houses, and we were watching an NHL game, me and my son, he's 13 years old, and the commercial came on. It was Mr. Carney, and he says, the government wants to get in the business of housing. And my son like, so Mark Carney wants to build houses like a hammer? I was like, no, but I looked at this as a good teachable moment. See, one side wants or thinks the government can do it better and more government, where the Conservatives, we want to get out of the way. Okay, we believe in our skilled contractors and tradesmen, and we want to get out of the way. We want to remove the red tape. We want to reward municipalities who do the same. We want to get out of the way so that our trade workers can build more homes, and that's what we need. So we just announced something. We want to remove the GST on new homes, so that saves the average home buyer up to $65,000, an average of $65,000. So that should boost home building and the economy. Immigration, man, I'll skip that one because I'm already over my time. Is that right?
You got 6 seconds.
New Brunswick competitiveness. You know what? Similar to that event, our economy is weak. Canada, we need to get out of the way we need to remove the red tape, develop our natural resources, grow our economy. And I think the fiscal Conservatives are the ones to do that right now. 10 years is enough. It's time for change. It's not about left or right here. It's about moving forward or backwards. And I really think the Conservative Party is the party to grow our economy. So with that, that's it for me. So
Thank you, Jocelyn.
thank you.
Next up is Serge Landry, NDP candidate for Moncton-Dieppe. Serge, the floor is yours.
Merci beaucoup. Je vais commencer premièrement à remercier l'invitation. Je m'appelle Serge Landry, je suis candidat d'NPD de Moncton-Dieppe. Originaire de Dieppe. Je vis à Moncton maintenant avec ma femme puis mes enfants, mais mes enfants sont grandis. J'en ai un de 34 puis j'en ai un de 24. Ça fait plus de 20 ans que j'ai travaillé comme préposé aux soins. Puis maintenant, je travaille comme représentant pour le Congrès du travail du Canada. Good evening. I'm Serge Landry, proud to be an NDP candidate for Moncton-Dieppe. I spent my life standing up for workers, for fairness, and for communities like ours that too often get left behind. In this election, we faced a real choice. New Brunswick sends 92% of its exports to the U.S., yet we're still waiting for the federal plan to protect us for the impact on the trade war. While other plays politics, the NDP will implement the Buy Canadian, Build Canadian strategy. Reinvest in affected industries like seafood, forestry, and fixed employment insurance so workers get the help they need. And let's talk about the housing. Moncton-Dieppe is short 6,500 homes, and too many people are being priced out. The Liberals let the corporate landlord treat housing like a casino, and the Conservative will leave it to the market. Only the NDP will build rent-controlled homes on public land. Stop corporate takeovers of affordable units and invest in nonprofit and co-op housing. We are also reject the decision to cut immigration while our hospital, trades, care system, and crisis. We need more workers, not fewer, and we need a government ready to welcome and support them. And when it comes to businesses' competitiveness, New Brunswick ranks last in the federal R&D investment. That's not acceptable. The NDP will change that investing in innovation, capping credit card fees for small businesses, and making sure federal contracts go to local companies, not just the big players from away. This is the kind of leadership that we need for the people, not for profit. And I'm not backed by lobbyists, billionaires. I'm running because I believe in working people deserve better, and the NDP is the only party delivering the solution. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Serge. And next up is Ginette Petitpas-Taylor, Liberal candidate for Moncton-Dieppe.
Bonjour tout le monde. Merci beaucoup, Kim, pour cette invitation. Et aussi, merci à Rogers d'être ici avec nous ce soir. So, friends and colleagues, my name is Ginette Petitpas-Taylor. I'm the Liberal candidate for Moncton-Dieppe. Au cours des derniers 9 ans, j'ai eu le privilège de vraiment être représentante à Ottawa. Mais souvent, les gens oublient qu'avant la politique, j'étais travailleuse sociale de formation au GRC ainsi que la force policière de Moncton. J'ai travaillé auprès des victimes de crimes, je les ai préparées pour aller en cours et finalement, j'ai pu servir ma communauté dans cette capacité aussi. Et maintenant, je vous demande pour un 4e mandat pour être votre représentante à Ottawa. So, colleagues, we have 4 questions, 3 minutes to answer them. So that's why we're talking so quickly. Number 1, immigration. I don't think that I have to convince anyone in the room here today that immigration is paramount. We certainly recognize in the province of New Brunswick within the next 10 years, we'll have between 110 and 130,000 people that are going to be retiring. We have to fill those jobs, and we have to make sure that population growth continues to be a priority. We do, however, have to ensure that our newcomers are properly absorbed within our community services, our healthcare services, and so on. New Brunswick has been a very welcoming community, and we want to ensure that continues, and that is why that we really have to have a balanced approach when it comes to immigration. But again, we recognize it's a priority, not a cookie-cutter approach. Housing, housing, housing. We certainly recognize that there's a huge need for housing within our province, within our country, and that is why that since the past 40 or 50 years, governments of all stripes have not made the needed investments when it came to housing. In 2015, we launched the National Housing Strategy, and we've invested more than $57 billion in helping cities and provinces in moving forward with housing. Some people need to think that the federal government should not get involved. I think we have to be at the table and having partnerships with the municipalities and the province. When it comes to R&D as well, it was mentioned that Moncton and Dieppe and the Atlantic provinces has not had their fair share when it came to R&D with research and development. And I certainly have to agree with that. But I think we can change that. With the recent investment that we made at the Atlantic Science Enterprise Center at the DFO building, a $700 million investment, we are going to be able to attract state-of-the-art researchers and also do top-notch research. And as a result, I think that we'll be able to see more money coming to research and development. And let's not forget, the blue economy certainly provides a tremendous amount of money to our local economy, and it adds tremendously to our GDP. We certainly can't skip the elephant in the room, which is the tariffs. I know that over the past 6 weeks, I've been knocking on doors and making telephone calls, and the number one issue that I'm hearing at the door is people's anxiety with respect to what's happening with our neighbor down south. We didn't ask for this fight, but we are certainly not going to take it laying down. And that's why Mark Carney has put in place counter tariffs immediately. The monies that are going to be collected from the counter tariffs are going to be set aside in order to help small and medium-sized businesses and also industry. At this point in time where we are with our economy, with our relationship with Donald Trump, I think Mark Carney is absolutely the leader that we need. He has certainly experience in the private sector, being the governor of the Bank of Canada and England, has certainly navigated crisis, and he is the man for the job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ginette. Our next candidate is Nathalie Vautour, Conservative candidate for Beauséjour.
Bonjour, je suis Nathalie Vautour, votre candidate conservatrice pour la circonscription de Beauséjour. My name is Nathalie Vautour, and I am your common sense conservative for the riding of Beauséjour. I was raised on the principles of common sense. My father often often said things like money doesn't grow on trees or use your common sense. I learned early that hard work was the key to success. I also understood finances at a very young age when I heard my mother and father talking, saying, "Are we in the red?" So I remember asking my parents what it meant. A basic concept, they explained to me that it meant that you had no money in your bank account. So a basic concept that our current government seems, a basic concept that seems lost under our current Liberal government. These lessons shaped who I am and why my values align with the Conservative Party. One January morning in 2014, my mom called me and asked if I was still thinking of starting a business. I said, yes, why? She'd seen an ad in the Times and Transcript that said, interested in franchising. It was the Greater Moncton Chamber of Commerce that was putting on the event. So I attended, and by June, I had signed a 10-year contract as the owner of a Budget Blinds franchise. As a local business owner and elected member of the Budget Blinds Franchise Advisory Council that represents over 1,500 franchises, I see firsthand how tariffs and policies affect Canadians. Prices rise, consumers pay more. But here's an opportunity. What if we turn to Canada, to Canadian vendors whenever possible? Supporting local isn't just patriotic, it's practical. Mettons le Canada d'abord, let's put Canada first. Now let's talk about housing. Costs have doubled in the last 10 years. Building homes and making ownership possible is a Conservative priority. We'll remove the sales tax on new homes and encourage municipalities to do the same with incentives. In Beauséjour, I've spoken to builders worried about vacancies while construction continues. We need smart, sustainable growth. Immigration is also key and the #1 issue brought up at the doors of Beauséjour. Proposed changes of the Atlantic Immigration Program and Provincial Nominee Program aren't about closing doors. Lowering numbers lets us focus on housing, healthcare, and building a skilled workforce. The path forward is clear: smart, responsible, common sense decisions. That's what I stand for, that's what the Conservative Party stands for, and that's what Beauséjour deserves. We can't afford a 4th Liberal term. Merci, thank you.
Merci, Nathalie. You like that clock, right? It's very helpful. And next up is Bill Kudla, Liberal candidate for Fundy Royal.
Well, this is my first time doing this kind of thing, but I'm Bill Kudla. I live in Lower Coverdale, been there for 4 years, and I am running for the Liberal Party of Canada because I believe it is best suited to take care of Donald Trump's tariffs and make Canadians more profitable. Liberals will use the construction industry to build homes. We'll use our lumber, we'll use our electricians and tradespeople, get them working, create more jobs that way, and the jobs, because our Canadians are doing it and they'll be subsidized, we'll have cheaper homes for people to buy that they'll actually be able to afford. I also believe that the building of new homes is imperative to get people out of living on the street, so we need to make sure we take care of it, as Liberals have forever, take care of people who are the less fortunate in our society. Building Canada homes is the plan that Liberals have for doing this, and it will work, and it will eliminate the GST on first-time home buyers so that houses up to $1 million will be GST free. Mark Carney-led government will stand against President Trump's tariffs, and will stand with them. As a former auto worker, I understand intrinsically how the tariffs have affected workers in this country, and we need to stand together and find new markets, find new transit across the country for all of our products, so we can share them with our fellow Canadians. The Atlantic industry of fisheries, lumber, mining needs the supports across the country. Our infrastructure needs to be updated as well so that we can get those products from coast to coast and to new markets so that we're less dependent on the United States of America. As far as immigration, Atlantic Canada it needs its immigrants. We need people to work in the fisheries, to work in the mines, to work in our fast food restaurants. And all those businesses are crying to us that they actually need those people, and we will have to maybe pivot a little bit on our immigration policy to make sure that we can supply different areas as required. As far as research and development, as a scientist myself, I really believe it's intrinsic that we spend time on research and development, have things available in these provinces, especially New Brunswick, to bring us up to the standards of the rest of the country. We will bring in American smart people that want to leave their country, that aren't being respected in their universities, and utilize that, as we already have seen a brain drain from the US to Canada, and we'll make sure those people can come here and contribute to our society and make us all stronger. And coast to coast, Canadians will profit under a Liberal government. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And our sixth and final candidate for the opening remarks, Rob Moore, Conservative candidate for Fundy Royal.
Well, good evening, everyone. And first, big thank you and congratulations to the Moncton Chamber for putting on this event. I'm already finding it very informative, and it's a great opportunity for all of us to hear from the candidates and from the different parties. And I do want to, as someone who's been elected before, I do want to extend my congratulations to all the candidates that have put their name forward. I can tell you, as someone who has done this myself and worked with other candidates and seen what they go through, the work that they put in, if you are willing to put your name out there, and if you're willing to take on a cause, and if you're willing to go door to door and talk to people and sell them on your vision, whatever that is, I think that's commendable and it's important in democracy. So to all of you on the front row, congratulations. So I always said, you know, it's impossible to know where you want to go without knowing how you got here. And how we got here, how did we get to a place where Canada was so vulnerable to these tariffs from Donald Trump in the first place? We got here because of, not by accident. You know, when Conservatives left government in 2015, we had the Energy East pipeline on the way. We had a low taxation environment, not just for business, but for families. We had resources being developed, and we had eliminated the deficit. Now what do we see 10 years later? And what is the impact on Canadians? Well, 10 years later, Canada's debt has doubled. 10 years later, in spite of Canada having the most land and the most wood of anybody, 10 years later, the cost to buy a house, and everyone in this room knows this, the cost to buy a house has doubled. The amount required for a down payment in Canada has doubled. Mortgage payments have doubled. Rent payments have doubled. What we are doing is demonstrably not working. We need to move in a new direction when it comes to housing. On immigration, there's 20,000 doctors and 30,000 nurses in Canada that are not working in their field. They have come to Canada, but they're unable to work in their chosen field at a time when we need doctors, we need nurses. So we need to change and improve our immigration system to connect individuals to available workers. We need to lower the tax burden on families, and that's why Conservatives are going to lower that tax burden. And we need to improve public safety. I know, talking to business owners, public safety is a big issue in the Moncton area. In the Moncton area alone, auto theft is up 215%. Extortion is up 600% in Moncton alone in the last 10 years. What we're doing is not working. So Conservatives have a plan to get pipelines built, to get our energy to the markets that need us, to improve our immigration system, to lower the taxes and the red tape that businesses face, and to lower the taxation burden on families. Those are the answers. Those are how we fight back against tariffs, and those are how we get the economy moving forward again. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Rob. A round of applause for all of them sticking to the time. You guys did great. Thank you so much. So now we are moving on to section 2 of this evening's event, is the Q&A format. So we have 3 questions prepared for the candidates, And we will ensure that we rotate through so each candidate, each party gets to be first and last within the ranks of the questions. So again, we're trying to be a nonpartisan organization here. We got to be fair to everybody. So the first question will go to Serge, Ginette, and Jocelyn. And Serge, you're going to be the first one, and I'll just read out the question for everyone. Aside from tariffs and the threat to Canadian sovereignty, it appears that affordability is a major issue in this campaign. What concrete steps will your party take to make life more affordable for New Brunswick businesses and residents? You each have 3 minutes. Serge, you're first up to the mic.
Thank you for the question. Under an NDP government, we'll fight price gouging in grocery stores. We'll remove GST from homes, heatings, and essentials, and ensure affordable housing is a right, not a privilege. Liberals protect corporate landlords, and Conservative will cut services. We'll fight for you. Thank you.
That was very quick. That's good. Ginette?
Do I get his time?
You get, yeah. It depends on Xavier. He's the controller of the time, Ginette.
I'm just kidding. Ben, premièrement, chers amis, chers collègues, je pense qu'on reconnaît tous que la question d'abordabilité est quand même une question au niveau national, puis un enjeu que souvent qu'on entend ici dans notre circonscription. Et en tant que gouvernement fédéral, nous avons toujours été là pour appuyer les Canadiens et Canadiennes lors des périodes difficiles. Your federal government has been there for Canadians during difficult times. When I hear individuals talk about the federal government doubling its debt, I think that we tend to forget that we've just come out of a global pandemic. 5 years ago, the economy was shut down, and we certainly wanted to make sure that the Canadian government took on the burden because we felt that we had that better balance sheet, if you will. And I certainly will not apologize to Canadians for taking on that debt and being there for them during their time of need. I think we also have to remember that during the global inflation just the last year, Canadians again were struggling, and again we were there in order to help Canadians during their times of need. When it comes to affordability, I think that we have to recognize that we've built a foundation over the past 9 years, and I'm proud of our track record of many programs that we've been able to put in place. The first thing that we did when we formed government in 2015, we lowered taxes for middle-class Canadians. And let's talk about the Canada Child Benefit Program. The Canada Child Benefit Program has lifted 440,000 children out of poverty. So you tell me that that didn't make a real difference in the lives of Canadians. We've also increased the OAS and the GIS for low-income seniors, and childcare. Let's not forget about childcare. We've put in place a national childcare program with the goal of making it $10 a day all across the country. In New Brunswick, we're halfway there, but again, this is making a real difference in the lives of Canadians. This isn't just good social policy. This is good economic policy because stats will show us that we have more women in the labor market right now than we've ever had. So that is good news for all of us, and it's good news for small and medium-sized businesses, it's good news for moms, it's good news for families. Now, moving forward, the future is here right now. And the big issue that we have to face right now, the boogeyman, is the tariffs. And we can say all that we want, but the tariffs are certainly causing an awful lot of uncertainty in our lives. Again, as I said, when I knock on doors, people are extremely scared and worried about what the future is going to hold. And as indicated in my opening remarks, imposing counter tariffs certainly was the thing to do immediately. And that money will be set aside, not in the general revenues, but to make sure that we are there to help the small and medium-sized businesses and the industries that have been impacted by it. Moving forward as well, if we are fortunate to be your Liberal government, we have committed to removing the GST off first-time home buyers as well. And also we want to extend our dental care program. I met an individual just last week who shared with me kind of the impact that had on his life. And again, for some of us, we take it for granted because we have access to health insurance, but for many individuals who don't, it certainly makes a huge difference. And finally, we want to continue to protect our seniors when it comes to their retirement. We know the stock market right now is pretty wonky, so we want to make sure that again, when they're withdrawing their savings, that they'll be able to do so and have a bit more flexibility in the times. So all that to say, we are there to support Canadians during the tough times. And again, I certainly will not apologize for the help that we've provided to Canadians over the past 9 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginette. Jocelyn?
All right. Do you have 3 minutes for this or 2?
I'm giving you 3. Like,
Wow.
There's your gift
Thank
today.
you.
There's your gift.
I get the minute from Serge, I think. Affordability, that is the number one question that I'm getting at my doors. Affordability, cost of living. And to me and to the Conservative Party, it's directly related to the last 9 years of government. I mean, when you double the debt, double the lineup at food banks, double the cost of living, cost of housing, the list goes on. And I'm going to pause here because I read a public speaking book, and if you want to make a point, you pause. We simply cannot afford a fourth Liberal term. The Liberals will increase the industrial carbon tax, okay? It was paused, and did you know, since its existence, the Liberals had 43 chances to remove it, but they voted to keep it 43 times. And now that there's an election, just saying, don't be fooled. We can't recycle failed policies and expect a different outcome. Okay, our plan, Conservatives, will keep the $10 daycare. We're going to keep the dental plan. And we want to completely remove the carbon tax, make life more affordable. Cut income taxes by 15%. We just announced that last week. That'll help the average worker keep money in their pockets, $900 a year for the average worker. If you're a couple, $1,800. Save home buyers, on average, like I said earlier, $65,000 by cutting the GST on new homes up to $1.3 million. And like I said, if we want to make life more affordable, we have to elect a Conservative government. Thank you.
Thank you, Jocelyn. So we're moving on to question 2, and I'll just give the lineup of who's going to be speaking to this question, and then I'll read the question. It will be Bill, Nathalie, and Serge. And the question is, the trade war with the U.S. has highlighted the need for Canada to re-examine developing more of its natural resources and maximizing their value through east-west trade corridors. Is your party committed to the development of natural resources, including here in New Brunswick, and what role would climate change mitigation have on those plans? So, Bill, you're first up.
So the Liberal Party will work to increase east-west corridors to get products to our coast. So we can look at our mining, our fishing. We'll have more markets for them. We need to open those quickly so that we can get our products out to other markets, get them away from the United States. European markets will be very happy to receive our products. And natural resources, we're going to develop them. We're going to develop natural resources, but in a very environmentally conscious way so that things don't go into groundwater. People on wells do not want their water polluted. We don't want our air polluted, so we're going to have new ways to do mining so that people can be protected. We're going to make sure that when we get water will not be taken for granted in this province. Our people will be given jobs. We'll be finding ways to use our own resources, our trees, our minerals, even the earth we're on. We're going to make sure that that's used better. Our farmers will be supported because without our farms, we don't eat. So we need to support farmers, support them with incentives to buy better equipment and more environmentally friendly equipment. Erosion's a huge thing, and we need to protect the waters from erosion. We need to protect native lands, especially. We need to respect our native people when we're bringing in new east-west corridors as far as any kind of pipelines that might be instigated or new rail lines. We need to consult with our Indigenous peoples, the First Nations of this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Nathalie?
Under the new Canada First Economic Action Plan, Conservatives will repeal Bill C-69 and C-48 that blocked the pipelines. Those should have never been blocked because we probably wouldn't be in the situation we're in right now if we would have gone ahead in the past. So we will have pipelines from west to east facilitating energy transportation and export. We will lift the cap on Canadian energy and scrap the industrial carbon tax. We will create a one-stop shop to safely and rapidly approve resource projects with one simple application and one environmental review within a year. We will rapidly approve Phase 2 of LNG Canada to double the project's gas production and accelerate at least 9 other projects currently snarled under the Liberal red tape. The carbon tax repeal, eliminating the tax on fuel and industries. Technology, not taxes, is the best way to fight climate change and protect our environment. Producing clean Canadian resources will displace higher emissions from countries that pollute the most. Thank you. Merci.
Merci, Nathalie. Serge?
Thank you. And the reason I'm short is because of the fact that I have to do 3 questions. Everybody else got 1. So I'm trying to be as concise as possible. So for natural resource development and climate, we support responsible resource development, but it must create good jobs and climate resilient. We'll end fossil fuel subsidies, invest in green infrastructure, and ensure Indigenous leadership is at the table. One thing we need to do in New Brunswick is stop shipping our raw material elsewhere. We need to have value-added jobs that will increase our value. Thank you.
Merci, Serge. So our third and final question today will be Rob, Serge, and Ginette. And this is our final question, giving each of the candidates 4 minutes to address what does a vote for you and your party mean for the future of our region and our country. Rob, you're up first.
Well, thank you. A vote for the Conservative Party and a Conservative government means a safer, stronger, more resilient Canada and a safer, stronger, more resilient New Brunswick. We're being asked this election to imagine that the last 10 years didn't exist, to imagine that it wasn't the Liberal government's deliberate actions that killed the Energy East pipeline, to imagine that it wasn't deliberate policies like Bill C-75 that changed bail in Canada to mean that if someone commits a crime, they're out on the street the same day. We have to imagine that that hasn't caused the spike in crime that we're seeing in our communities, at our businesses and places that we call home. And we have to imagine somehow that everything that's come out in the last few days is somehow an idea that the Liberals have had and hasn't been taken from the Conservative platform. And I use just a few examples. It was Conservatives that recognized the burden of the carbon tax on everyday Canadians. It's not just about what you fill your vehicle up with. It's about the groceries you buy. It's about the downstream costs from farmers to producers to the grocers that finally make it to families. And that's caused food inflation. That's caused families to have to decide between heating their home and buying food and putting gas in their vehicle. Those are decisions New Brunswickers shouldn't have to make, but those are decisions that New Brunswickers are making right now. And a Conservative government means that New Brunswickers are going to have help when it comes to affordability. We're going to make sure the carbon tax is permanently eliminated, including the hidden carbon tax, the industrial carbon tax. We've heard just recently the Liberal government was going to increase the capital gains tax from 50% inclusion rate to 66%. That would affect many of the people here in this room. It was Conservatives that stood against that, and now the government has backed away from that. It was Conservatives that said the best way to spur housing development and new homes is to take the GST off of those new home builds. And now the Liberals have copied that. And it was Conservatives that stood strongly for the Energy East pipeline. We've seen 16 major energy projects killed in Canada over the last decade. And the pressure that puts on, what is the message that tells business? It tells business Canada is not open for business, and that money that they have to invest can go elsewhere. And they've been doing that in droves. That's why Canada, amongst its G7 peers, has had the lowest per capita GDP performance. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are business owners, many of you, you're part of the chamber. You know that from 10 years ago, affordability has become a bigger issue. You know that when you walk down the street, you feel less safe than you did 10 years ago. And you know that Canada is more vulnerable to tariffs from the United States than we were 10 years ago, when we were saying that the world needed more of Canada. And when free trade agreements were developed with other countries, and when pipelines were being built to add value instead of giving our resources away to the U.S. and allowing them to develop it and them to sell it, how about having that value added happen right here in New Brunswick? Now, the part that is scary is that there is no province, including Alberta, there's no province more vulnerable to tariffs than New Brunswick. And as a matter of fact, there was an evaluation of every city in Canada on their vulnerability to the tariffs. St. John, New Brunswick is the most vulnerable city in all of Canada to these tariffs. So it's extremely serious. And we have to make sure that Canada is ready to perform and that we're ready to take on the future. And we're not going to get there by having rehashed ideas from the past. We know that Mr. Carney, his real views on the carbon tax were that it wasn't high enough, but now he's taken it away. We know that he's done everything he can to stifle energy development in Canada while investing his own resources and his company's resources in energy projects that couldn't happen here, but they're happening elsewhere. So a Conservative government will end that. We're going to bring back affordability for Canadians, lower taxes, lower home prices, and we're going to put Canada first for a change. We all deserve that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob. Next up, Serge Landry.
Thank you very much. So what does a vote for the NDP means? It means standing up to the powerful, protecting public health care, building affordable homes, and fighting for dignity for workers and retirees. A vote for the NDP is a vote for a government that will finally put you first. So how we're going to pay for that? Some of the issues, we're going to cut the wealth tax on fortunes over 10 million. I don't think anybody here has fortunes over 10 million. If so, I want to talk to you. Maybe you can give me donations. Close the tax loophole and crack down on tax havens. End fossil fuel subsidies. Fair taxation on excess corporate profit. And make big grocery and telecom companies pay their fair share. At the end of the day, when we talk about inflation, inflation is the cost of our products. But when we see the same companies that hike the cost of products, they're making a record profit. It's not inflation, it's greed. And that's why an NDP government will end that. Now, just a final note, and I'll take the advantage, is I was deeply disappointed when the election was called, April 28. April 28 is the National Day of Mourning for workers killed and hurt on the job. So on April 28, I already went to vote, because on April 28, I'll be taking that day at 11 o'clock at Board Park, and I invite all of you to come and to the ceremony, if you have never attended, to pay tribute for the workers that was killed on the job. Thank you.
Merci, Serge. Ginette?
Well, thank you, Kim. I guess, first of all, I'd say, contrary to some people in the room, I certainly don't believe that Canada is broken. I certainly believe that Canada is a land of opportunity. And when I hear some people indicate that we've done nothing over the past 9 years, I really have to disagree with that. When I think of the 440,000 children that have been lifted out of poverty, tell them that we've done nothing for them. When I met Dave on St. George Street 2 weeks ago when he was leaving my riding office, and he was so happy to see me, and he said, "Ginette, I'm going to be voting for you this time," he said. I kind of had to laugh. And he said, "I'm so happy, Ginette. I've been at the dentist for the first time in 20 years, and I'll be getting my dentures. I won't have pain when I'm eating anymore." Tell Dave that we haven't done anything for him over the past 9 years. When I meet with Luc and Chloe, who have saved $1,200 as a result of the childcare benefits that they're receiving, the reduction in their fees, tell them that we haven't been there to help them. Our federal government has been there to help Canadians during their time of need, and we've put in place some wonderful support programs. And many of them are indicating today that they'll keep those programs, but let's be honest. The Conservative Party voted against these programs. So moving forward, what are we going to do? We are going to continue to stand up for Canadians. And I want to stress once again, voting for a Liberal Party, what does that mean? It means that we'll continue to fight for you and for your family. We'll continue to make sure that the infrastructure investments that we need here in Atlantic Canada, and I guess I'm being very selfish in speaking about Moncton and Dieppe, we want to make sure that we get our fair share of the pie. We want to make sure that all of New Brunswick gets their fair share of the pie. And I can tell you, when I look at my track record over the past 9 years, I'm extremely proud of the work that we've done. We've made historic investments in housing. I see Rising Tide is here this evening, some folks from there. We've been able to partner with not-for-profit organizations. We've made historic investments when it comes to the Atlantic Science Enterprise Centre. $700 million investment here in Moncton at DFO is going to be a game changer in the research area. And that is the biggest investment since the Confederation Bridge. These are not small projects. These are monumental projects. Working with provinces and territories and also working with our mayors and council. My priorities are the priorities of our communities. You know, I meet regularly with our mayors and council to find out what is their priority for the year ahead. And it's important that we fight for their priorities and the monies that they want. If I look at Dieppe, they've got a growing community. Le Centre Uniplex, le Centre multigénérationnel à Dieppe, est un investissement à cause du gouvernement fédéral, provincial et la municipalité. If we look at Moncton, the Moncton YMCA at the North End, it is a growing community, and the mayor and council told us, Ginette, we need investments there. So we were at the table and we were able to make that a priority. In Riverview may not be a part of my riding if I'm so lucky to be your member of parliament, but Riverview again has a growing community and they wanted a recreational center. We were able to provide them with the funding that they need. So when it comes to infrastructure investments, we'll continue to be that strong voice. Puis je dois vous dire aussi, en tant que fière Acadienne qui habite en communauté de langues officielles en situation minoritaire, puis l'ancienne ministre des langues officielles, je vais défendre la langue française d'arrache-pied. Puis je vais m'assurer que nos communautés de langues officielles en situation minoritaire sont bien représentées. Puis ça veut dire s'assurer que RADCAN et CBC vont continuer à avoir de financement, puisqu'ils sont vraiment des perles, des bijoux de notre communauté. So all that to say, Liberals will be working very hard to making sure that we can continue to have your confidence. And again, I am extremely proud of the track record that we do have. And I'm not saying that these problems are easy. If these complex solutions could be solved by 3-word slogans, we would have done that a long time ago. But we need to make sure that we have we roll up our sleeves and that we work with the people around the table to make sure that we come up with solid solutions. And Mark Carney has that real life experience. He has a resume, he has done tough negotiations, and he has been at the table. And I think that if we look over his past month only being the Prime Minister, we've seen results. And moving forward, I'm looking forward to working under his leadership. So on April 28th, I kindly ask for your support, and I kindly ask you to vote Liberal. Merci beaucoup tout le monde.
Thank you, Ginette. This concludes the Q&A portion of today's event. I would like to thank Ginette, Jocelyn, Serge, Rob, Bill, and Nathalie for making time to be with us here today. We sincerely appreciate it. A big round of applause for all our candidates. I'm going to get you to take out your phone one last time. We've got one question left for you. So there's going to be a QR code that's going to pop up. So you're going to scan it. Mark Cormie's taking selfies. He's not sure which way the camera's pointed. I got you, Mark. In your opinion, what are the most important issues that should be addressed during this campaign? So we're going to see the results coming through. And the choices are, we'd like you to rank them as they appear on the screen in order of importance, from 1 being least important to 10 being the most important. So economic development and job creation. Oh, we got a lot of, I think that's a 10? Or no, we got 15, it's a 9. See my eyesight again, folks. We got 22 people, 25, 26. So it's very important. We got 9, a rating of 9 for that one. Okay, next question. Housing affordability and availability. Let's rank that one. So the candidates are paying attention, seeing what matters to the room. Oh, we got 9. It was a 10, it went to a 9. Now it's going down to an 8. Okay, so we've got an 8. Next question is around infrastructure and transportation. So please rank that from a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, so we've got that at a 7. The fourth one, workforce development and education, le développement de la main-d'œuvre et l'éducation. And that's scoring in at an 8. Fifth one, healthcare access and services, accès aux soins de santé et services médicaux. No surprise here that this one is ranking high at 9. And the last one, international and interprovincial trade. Commerce international et interprovincial. Okay, that one's a 9 too. So we had a few 9s between healthcare, interprovincial trade, economic development, and job creation. So thank you all for participating. I love that show up tool. It's great. It's a great way to keep you participating because if you're like me, you wore the best shoes you could today when you're standing up for this long. I would like to ask all candidates to join me on stage for a quick group photo. And following the photo, all 6 candidates will be available for 30 minutes to meet one-on-one with members of the audience to answer any burning questions that you have here today. Just a reminder to the media that these next 30 minutes are reserved for members only. And I'd like to say that as you head to the polls on April 28th, or perhaps to the advanced polls this weekend, remember that every vote counts, so make your voice heard. Thank you to the team here at Canvas Hotel for the venue, Sonic Image for the AV, all our media for being here as well, and our photographer extraordinaire, Danielle St. Louis, who always does such a great job and shows up for us. Local celebrity Danielle St. Louis. And thanks to the Chamber team, to my board of directors, who many are here today, to my advocacy committee, who was instrumental in putting together the format for today's event. We can't do these events without all of you. A final thanks to each of you, our members, for coming to today's event and for continuing to support your Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce, I'm doing the plug, for the full list of upcoming events. You can go to our website, ccgm.ca, and you'll see the entire list. We have a busy spring ahead of us. Wishing you and your families a wonderful Easter, joyeuse Pâques, and thanks again for coming here today.
Hi, everybody. My name is Eddie Cornell, and I'm a candidate in the riding of Beauséjour, New Brunswick for the People's Party of Canada. I'm a resident of Shediac Cape. I became involved in the PPC after the trucker convoy. I found that our government, under the Liberals, violated our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and that, to me, was a line in the sand. We can't allow that to happen. Our rights are not privileges, they are rights. And when you see a government violate the rights like they have, that's not a very good sign of what's to come. I was one of the 2 litigants that took the government to task for the imposition of the Emergency Act and freezing of bank accounts. I had my bank accounts frozen. Successfully, we challenged them in court, and that was the Mosley decision that decided that the government acted illegally when they did that. It's very alarming that a government could have that type of overreach on the citizens. And we at the People's Party of Canada would never allow that to happen again. Our charter rights need to be protected and enforced, and people who violated these need to be held accountable. Otherwise, we don't live in a free and democratic society. That's not the kind of country I want to live in. I don't want to live in a country where the government tells you what you can say and what you can think and what you can read and what you can watch. I think I'm in the position where I could decide for myself, just like all of you. So I'm hoping that you will take a look at our platform at thepeoplesparty.ca and give us a chance. I know that I'm going to work diligently if I'm elected to represent this riding. And I'm not here to have fancy slogans and tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to listen to what you want us to do. I want to be your voice in Ottawa to voice your concerns, what really affect you in your daily lives. And I think that's the most important thing that a representative can do. We find that politicians get elected promising things that they know they'll never deliver on. And when they get to Ottawa, they have an entirely different agenda and you feel ignored. Well, I will not ignore you. I will be your voice and I will do the job that you sent me to do. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you will consider voting for me on the 28th of this month. Thank you, everyone.